Yeah, thanks for being here. And the story behind today's guest is a couple of years before. There was a summit, the Winning Summit, and there were
Yeah.
3 days. And I was in charge of prospecting speakers for the Parenting Day. And I got connected to Jess, and she gave a keynote back then. And we connect again a month ago. And it was great to have a conversation with you. And today we have a conversation live. And thanks for being today. And I didn't put your academic background in the intro because it was too long. Can you share it with the audience? Because I will make some mistake for sure.
Oh, no, you're good. That's great. So I have a master's in mental health counseling, another master's in sport and exercise psychology, and then a PhD in performance psychology as well. And then have lots of certifications and licensures on top of that. So from mental resilience or master resilience training to learning enhancement training. I have certifications in persuasion of principles. I'm a national certified counselor, licensed counselor here in Austin, Texas, and in Arizona as well. So lots of different ones.
Yes, I said it was too big for me, the presentation. So when did you get into sports when you were young? What was the first approach in that path?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I started off as a gymnast, and actually my sister was in a gymnastics class. I think I had to have been around 2 years old, and she was out on the floor. I'm in the bleachers with my mom, and I don't remember it too, but I remember being told the story that as my sister was getting up on the beam, for whatever reason, the coach was with another group of kids, and so my sister was getting nervous to get on the high beam. I get out of the stands, somehow find her on the beam or beam area. My sister starts to lift me up, 2 years old, on the high beam, and I'm just starting to walk across it like no fear, nothing. And she didn't want to get on the beam, so she's like, well, I'll put my sister on it. And my mom's like, couldn't get down the stands fast enough to try to get me, because she was like, what the heck? Like, this 2-year-old's just now walking on these really high beams. From that moment on, fell in love with the sport of gymnastics, was in gymnastics from a very young age, all the way throughout high school, and did some in college. I also played collegiate soccer. I was a soccer player as well. So those were my two paths of sports that I did as a kid.
So you studied as a pro in gymnastics. At 2 years old, you were already a pro, and you weren't pushed by parents and all that fears that they drag into kids, And there is a topic that is hidden in sport, and you have an experience about sexual abuse. And how did you face that challenge, and how did you overcome it?
That's a good question. So no, my parents never pressured me into doing it. I was the kid that I couldn't be in enough activities. So if I wasn't in a sport, I was involved in every club that you could think of at school. So it was straight to clubs, and then I had 4-hour gymnastics practice, or I'd go and do an hour and a half of soccer and then go straight to gymnastics. So my time was completely filled up. In today's society, it would be like you're putting too much on the kid. But for me, and the way that my personality was, that if there was downtime, I struggled and would find trouble. So the more I was busy was better for my temperament as a kid. That does not fit every child, and it's not the best way for every child to go about how they do sports and club activities. But it was for me. At a young age, I was inappropriately touched by a family friend, and then later by my gymnastics coach my senior year in high school. I never disclosed anything to my parents when I was younger. That was around like 7 years old. When I was around 17, when my coach started to make advances, all of that wave came back. And I got to a point where I got so disgusted. I wanted to go for a scholarship for gymnastics, and I couldn't stand to be in the gym anymore. I would get sick. I would want to throw up. The sport that I grew up and loved, that is my world, I couldn't stand to be around it whatsoever. So I stopped my senior year in high school as I'm getting ready for all these recruitments and putting all these stuff out for college. Luckily, I had a backup sport with soccer that I put everything into. And I think within 2 months, I got picked up for a scholarship out in Arizona for soccer rather than gymnastics. And I hadn't touched the sport probably within like 4 months. And one of my relatives lived out in Arizona. Her daughter was a gymnast out there too. So that was the first time I had been back in a gym in about 4 or 5 months since the last incident with my coach. And it was a really weird feeling of like, I missed this. I wish I would have gone for it. But then it was like, I feel really gross too. And I didn't want to be a part of it. I think that also led the direction of where I wanted to be as a sports psych, being able to help other athletes overcome those mental difficulties of not feeling gross yourself, but that it wasn't about me. It was about this gentleman. He wasn't a gentleman, this coach that completely violated young girls, and took away their dreams. How you still, I don't know, say like self-confident in yourself, believe in self-worth, that your dreams still do matter, and how to overcome some of those difficulties. Because it's not just in gymnastics that happens. This happens in a variety of different sports. And I think, and not just to women either, or to young girls, it also happens to males too. But recognizing that they're not alone, and that just being able to talk about it is a really hard thing for a lot of different people. And I said at a very young age that a lot of the experiences that I've gone through, which are a lot, aren't always for me. I know that they happen to me, but I also think that I've been equipped with the experiences, the education to be able to relate to a wide variety of people, to let them know that they too can overcome this.
It's been a long path, and it looks like the sport, soccer, saved you from gymnastics. You rely on sports, you didn't rely on another field, and you start getting equipped with different tools and can share it with other people. And that's a great thing. And regarding your TED Talk, you talk about the emotions. Why do we tap into other people's emotions, and what can we do about it?